Welcome. In this presentation, we will explore the policies and procedures that a municipality should have in place to ensure the success of a capital planning process. We will also walk through a brief overview of a sample capital budget process. Capital planning provides a strategy for maintaining a community's capital assets. It is critical for a municipality to have a plan to maintain and improve existing infrastructure, whether it be school buildings, roads and bridges, parks and playgrounds, libraries, senior centers, public safety equipment, water sewer systems, or IT infrastructure. Replacing and/or upgrading of these municipal assets must be planned for in a financially prudent manner. An effective capital plan also allows for investments necessary to meet future demands for service change. Planning for continual reinvestment can help avoid financial crisis caused by sudden failures due to years of underinvestment. In practical terms, a capital investment plan serves to organize capital spending within policy-driven parameters. This process involves creating an inventory of capital assets, developing a deliberative process to prioritize and approve project requests, building a 5-year investment plan, and establishing a financing policy that governs the balance of cash versus debt and sets capital spending as a percentage of revenues or budget. Each community should have a high-level policy that informs all capital decisions and takes into account issues specific to its residents. This policy should be paired with a long-term understanding of the community's available revenues and how much it will invest in capital on an annual basis. In addition, there must also be a robust capital planning apparatus to enact policy decisions, which requires a detailed capital planning and annual budget process. Capital planning is an important piece of municipal financial planning. Capital budget development should be governed by parameters set forth in financial policies that provide fiscal guidance and dictate the budget process. In addition, the plan should be forward-thinking in order to maintain assets and services. As part of the process, a data-driven financial forecast should be used to assess the current and future state of the community's finances and to provide context for funding decisions. The capital plan, financial policies, and financial forecast are necessary to complete a budget that is based on an understanding of the community's fiscal condition and addresses its needs. All of these components, which will be detailed further in the following slides, should be included in the annual budget document. As mentioned in the previous slide, a municipality must have strong financial policies in place that will ultimately determine the use of revenues available for capital planning. Sound financial policies can help identify a community's budget priorities and allocate revenue towards them as part of the budget process. They can also set circumstances for use of certain revenues, including to build a stabilization fund or for another designated purpose. Financial policies also define the structure and process of the budget's development. Policies should be written according to local needs and priorities and developed with input from all stakeholders. Any capital plan requires a long-term investment and should be paired with a long-range forecast governed by a forecasting policy. This will ensure a data-driven budget process that is built on good analysis of the community's finances. A forecasting policy should embed the development of a long-range forecast into the budget process and assign responsibility for its development and delivery. Revenue guidelines should also be set by the policy. Municipalities should take a data-driven approach to projections by analyzing past trends and making realistic assumptions. Guidelines should also outline the use of reserves and one-time revenue. As with revenue guidelines, expenditure guidelines should also be included in the policy. As part of this process, local officials should determine whether the budget will be level funded, level service, or if it will include a certain percentage increase or decrease across the board or at the department level. While doing so, officials should also identify any community-driven spending priorities, such as sidewalk and street maintenance in a busy downtown area. Capital planning is a core element of the budget process and should be governed by a clear capital planning policy. The policy should define a capital project and identify what can be funded through the capital plan, Assign responsibility for its preparation, outline the planning process, and set deadlines. Establish selection criteria to evaluate and rank submitted projects. Identify an overall capital financing strategy for the community, such as the balance of debt versus cash capital spending, or how much to spend on capital annually. And include a statement expressing the community's preference regarding borrowing terms, such as length and paydown structure for a note or bond. The responsibilities for developing and delivering a capital plan should be assigned among local officials in a policy that mirrors a capital planning bylaw or ordinance, municipal charter, or special act. The assignment of these roles and responsibilities varies by municipality and could lie with the executive or legislative body. Here are some common ways Massachusetts cities and towns develop and implement their capital plans. In a city, a mayor will generally prepare the capital plan with assistance from the financial management team. The mayor will then present the plan to the city council for approval. In a town with a strong town manager or administrator, the individual will prepare the capital plan, also with the assistance of the financial management team. They will then present the plan to the select board and/or finance committee. Massachusetts general law also permits municipalities to establish a capital planning committee. In a process led by the local legislative body, this committee, if established, would be a part of the planning process. In the following slides, we will review the importance of defining the role of this committee if a community wishes to utilize that model. Regardless of who manages the process, it is best practice for the municipality's finance director or equivalent position to be involved with the process to ensure the long-range forecast is utilized and financial policies are followed. Generally, a capital planning committee's mission will fit one of two primary purposes: to advise and inform the legislative body and the public on the municipality's capital planning, or to actually develop the capital plan and deliver the annual capital budget. A committee in an advisory role will need to be able to receive capital requests and other information from departments, hold public hearings, and will likely develop a report with recommendations on that year's proposed projects. A more executive-style committee will need to be able to issue capital submission materials directly to departments, be empowered to receive capital submissions directly, and to review, evaluate, and approve or deny departmental submissions, which will determine what goes before town meeting. The committee should have a purpose defined in a bylaw or ordinance and the authority needed to fulfill its mission. It is also a best practice for the bylaw ordinance to define who the capital planning committee reports to and how its recommendations are to be presented to this individual or body. It is important to weigh the benefits of establishing a capital planning committee against the challenges your community might face. There are several benefits to having such a committee. First, a capital planning committee provides an independent review of capital projects. Second, it allows the town to tap into any available resident outside expertise. Third, a community can ensure that it has a body specifically tasked with monitoring capital needs. And fourth, having the committee increases transparency through its public meetings and reports. Depending on the size and engagement level of your community, there may also be challenges to establishing a capital planning committee. For instance, it could be difficult to find volunteers to fill the committee and to consistently achieve a quorum. The committee is also an added administrative layer onto the capital budget process. In addition, resident expertise is not always guaranteed, which will impact the committee's ability to assess projects. If the initial bylaw creating the committee is not sufficiently clear, it may lead to a muddled capital budget process. Regardless of who oversees putting together the capital plan, your community should have a well-defined budget process. Capital requests should be handled in a similar but parallel process to operating budget requests. The first step in the process is to provide departments with the forms and instructions they will need to create their capital submissions, as well as a calendar outlining important due dates. Once departments submit their capital requests, the individual, board, or committee identified in the policy can begin the review process. During this time, requests can also be modified to reflect any changes to the community's long-term financial forecast. The review process may involve public hearings, when departments present their requests to policymakers who will have an opportunity to provide feedback. Departments will then revise their budget requests and incorporate this feedback before resubmitting. The revised submissions can be used to update the capital improvement plan, the first year of which will serve as that year's proposed capital budget, subject to approval of the legislative body. For more information on this or other best practices, please visit mass.gov/DLS or contact the Technical Assistance Bureau at tacontact@dor.state.ma.us or at 617-626-2358.